friends, it's Mandy and I'm back with another process video for you. I'm sorry I've been a little bit absent here on my channel for the last couple of weeks because I've just recently had some time away with my family. We went on a little holiday and so I didn't do any recording while I was away. So in case you were wondering, that's where I've been. But we're home now and I'm getting back into my regular posting of at least one video a week. Sometimes I try and get more up if I can, but usually there's at least one a week. So the layout that I'm working on today is for the Vicki Boutin design team, and I'm going to be having a little play with the Colourpop paints on this page. But to start with, what I wanted to do was add a little bit of texture to the background. So as you can see, what I'm doing is using the Vicki Boutin gesso, and I'm applying it with a palette knife through that script stencil in 3 different places on the background. So I'm going to be positioning my photo down in that bottom right hand corner there. And the photo that I'm documenting is actually from our holiday that we just recently went on. We found this beautiful creek, and it was just a really beautiful spot. It was really relaxing. It was quiet, and the day that we were there, the sun was shining. It was just the perfect day, and I captured this photo. And I don't often scrapbook photos with no people in them, but I really wanted to document this one because it just brings back those nice memories of our holiday. So what I want to do here with my mixed media is add a bit of colour behind where my photo is going to go, down there in the bottom right hand corner. And so I kind of just want it peeking out from behind the photo. And I think when I was creating this page, I think I had in mind how I wanted it to look. And so I'm going to keep bringing the photo back in as I'm adding my mixed media, just to make sure that it's looking how I want it to look. I don't know if with you guys, do you, when you scrapbook, do you start with your photo or do you start with the products? I do a bit of both. Sometimes I have products that I want to work with or that I have to work with for my design team work, and so I'll choose a photo to go with that. But I always start my layout with an idea of what photo I'm going to scrapbook. But on this layout, I think I really had in mind how I wanted it to look. But the funny thing is, I kind of changed my mind along the way. So as you can see, I'm adding a bit of colour there in the bottom right-hand corner where the photo is going to go. And then I was sort of adding a smaller cluster there up in the top left-hand corner of the page. And so that was sort of going to balance out that photo cluster in the bottom right-hand corner. But you'll see in a minute that I do end up covering up that cluster in the top left-hand corner because I'm going to add some strips of patterned paper down the left-hand side of the page. So what I had in mind did actually end up changing. So as you can see, what I was doing there with the Colourpop paints, I mixed together the saltwater taffy, which was that beautiful blue, with just a little bit of the plum pudding because I wanted to match the colour to the colour of the sky in my photo. And so the saltwater taffy was a bit more of a lighter blue, and so that's why I brought in that purple just to match it to the colours in the photo. And so I also added quite a bit of water to it because I wanted it to have a bit of movement on the page. I wanted to be able to, I wanted it to be a bit more fluid so that I could move it around on the page. So that was why I did that. And so you can see there that the stenciling that I did underneath with the gesso is going to show through that paint. And so it just adds some really nice texture through the paint. And now what I'm doing is just adding some stamping using the circle stamps that Vicki released earlier this year. And so I used the colour wheel in the cool tones to add some stamping, and I also used my black archival ink to add some smaller black circles. So as you can see here, what I mentioned before was I'm going to add some strips of pattern paper down the left hand side of the page. And I think I'm going to like that better I just felt like it just needed something a bit more over on the left-hand side, something a bit heavier, I think. And I also wanted to bring in a bit more colour with the patterned paper. So that was why I decided to do that. So I'm adding that beautiful yellow paper, which is on the reverse side of, I think it's the Social Butterfly patterned paper, I think it's called. And then I'm also adding a thinner strip of that lovely aqua paper that has the dots on it. And I'm just going to tuck that under the edge there. And then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine, and I'm going to add some machine stitching down the edge of that yellow patterned paper. And see, you can see there that I've done that now. And I also distressed the edge of it a little bit just to give it some more texture. So I'm liking how this is looking now, but I felt like the colours needed to be softened just a little bit. So I was sort of a little bit all over the place with this layout. So I thought I was done with the mixed media, but I end up deciding that I wanted to add a little bit more colour behind the photo, but just a softer colour, just to soften that colour palette a little bit. So I've just used the Daiquiri Ice, which is that beautiful light blue colour, and I just applied it in the same way that I did with the blue paint using the paintbrush, and I watered it down as well. So then I decided, while I've got my paints out, I pulled out the watercolour stickers from the All the Good Things collection from Vicki Boutin, and I decided that I would paint a few of the butterflies in this pack so that I could add them to my page. And so on that larger butterfly there, I used that same Daiquiri Ice that I've added on the background. And then just to add a little bit more depth of colour to that, I'm also adding a little bit of the blue Hawaiian. And so that's just going to add a little bit of a darker colour to the middle of the butterfly and just give it a little bit more depth of colour and interest. So I'm also going to paint just a couple of the smaller butterflies here as well, because usually I work in threes. So I figure that if I paint 3 of them, then I've got that option. If I only want to add 1, I can, but I do end up adding all 3. And so I've painted one of them with that blue Hawaiian, and then I'm also going to paint one yellow, and that's using the crushed pineapple. So once I'd finished painting the butterflies, I still had some paint left over on my mat, as you can see there. So what I decided to do was pull out a page from my junk journal, and I'm just sort of dabbing it onto that paint, just picking it up by pressing the paper down onto my mat, and I now have a background that I can use in the future in my junk journal. So don't waste your paint. If you've got some left over on your mat, do something like that. Pull out some cardstock, and then you've got a ready-made background ready to go for your next project. Okay, so I am now happy with how my background's looking and my photo and pattern paper. So I'm going to bring in my embellishments now. And so I've pulled out the die cuts from the All the Good Things collection, and I'm going to layer some there around the right hand side of the photo. So I've tucked one underneath, and I think that says something like "The Places We Go," something like that, which I thought was quite appropriate for this photo. And then I end up deciding on using that yellow, it looks a bit like a postage stamp on the right hand side of the photo as well. I had thought about adding a title across the bottom of the photo, but I put that die cut there that says "Note" up, running vertically down the page up the top. I do end up switching that later, and I'm going to use some of the chipboard alphabet stickers to add my title in that same place. So I'm getting things stuck down now, and as you can see, I used some foam tape behind the photo because I wanted to lift that up off the page and give it some nice dimension. And then I'm also, because I'm having that die cut there overlapping the right hand side of the photo, I'm also adding some foam tape to the right hand side of that. And I end up adding 2 layers of foam tape because I actually want that sitting even higher than the photo, just to get some really great dimension on that. And I really love to do that with my embellishment clusters because I think it just adds lots of interest. Okay, so as you can see now, I've decided that I'm going to add my title using those chipboard alphabet stickers, and my title is going to be Serenity. I just kind of felt like note didn't really suit what I wanted for my title, and so that's why I decided on using these chipboard alphabet stickers. So now I'm pulling out the cardstock stickers from the collection, and I thought about adding that black one along the bottom of the photo, and looking at it now, I do like it, but I think I just felt like it was just a little bit too heavy on the bottom of the photo and just sort of drew your attention too much. So I do end up taking that off. So the last thing I'm going to do to finish off the layout is add these butterflies that I painted earlier. So I'm going to add 2 of them above the photo, and I will add 1 down in the bottom right hand corner of the page. And I'm going to stick the larger one down with some foam tape on the wings, just to lift that up off the page and sort of make it look like it's sort of floating off the page. And then once I get those stuck down, I will be all done. So thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please leave me any questions or comments below and I will get back to you. So thanks so much again, and I will see you soon. Bye.